Hi guys, it's me again, Andrew Markowitz. We're gonna do a video of what should be Tucker Carlson absolutely getting blasted by Ben Shapiro, which I'm not surprised by. My personal opinions on Tucker Carlson are at this point, when he was with cable news, he wasn't that bad. But since he's been uh, independent, he's done this really weird thing where he has gone. I can't even say full grifter. Um, and he's not an idiot, by the way. That's another thing I need to specify too. He's not dumb, and that's the biggest problem. But like, he is shilling out. The only way I can describe it is he is shilling out towards some pretty bad ideas and bad groups of people. Um, which is why we don't need to say that he's not MAGA. We don't need to say anything like that. We need to call him out for the individual things and actions that he's doing and saying, hey, dude, the hell are you doing? You haven't investigated on this term. Why haven't you investigated on this term? You need to do better. And by that, I do mean, like, for example, my guy, my guy literally has clips of him saying, like, oh yeah, submission to God. Like, Allah is not the same God that Christians worship, dude. They're called in their book to kill us. Um, hold on. Apostate. No, sorry. Apologetics Roadshow. Like, right here. I already had it clipped because I was trying to do another shoot on a different video and it just didn't pan out. But I mean, just read that. That's a direct quote and verse from the Quran. This is a direct quote and verse from the Quran. Like, this isn't an edit. This is a full blown paragraph. This is a full blown paragraph. Like, full statement, not a shorted quote or anything like that. This this is part of their beliefs. This is how they believe the end times get started, boys and girls. It's not on God's call, it's on their call. That's a completely different belief from what I have as a Christian. And if you don't believe me, go read Revelations in the Bible. Also, I don't recommend starting there if you're starting out. Um, like, that's a really hard text to read. So don't start there. I've already said what I said I believe you should start with, which is honestly, ooh, that looks like a fun video. Killing demons is awesome. Yeah, I'm totally down for that video. We're gonna watch that one soon. But needless to say, like, this God is not the same. Allah is not the same God as Christ, as Jesus Christ. They even say so in their book. Surah 1094. I think he has more surahs in here. No. Yeah. So, like, you can't make statements like that because you're just promoting genuinely things that are contradictory to you and are definitely bad ideas. Like, the whole Russian grocery store thing was just weird and dumb, and it's like, you're in support of a state that is willing to massacre people behind the scenes. The hell, bro. The hell.
Speak on it in coherent fashion, holistic fashion. That topic is the fragmentation of the political right.
And this is happening right now. It's so dumb. It's happened since Charlie died.
And people led by.
There isn't a day that goes by that Charlie's dead, and I'm just not like, I wish he was here because he was one of the biggest uniting forces we had, and without him, it is so devastating. Charlie Kirk. I could probably pick up. That's good. I'm glad he has. Because if you don't know who that is, gosh, what is his name? Frank Turek. He's awesome. Watch his channel. He does a great set of like just runs a great radio show, runs a great podcast, goes around on campuses all the time. Voted to God. He's an awesome dude. He's one of the many guys that kind of inspired me to want to start this channel and really dedicate it towards the things that I'm trying to dedicate it towards. Which obviously I'm just doing this reaction content to kind of keep me motivated for the time being to continue doing those video essays and continue knowing that this channel is growing to some degree or another.
A young man named Nick Fuentes. They call themselves the Groypers. They are white supremacists. They hate women, Jews, Hindus,
agreed.
Many types of Christians, brown people of a wide variety of backgrounds, blacks, American.
Yeah, Nick Fuentes also an awful person. Like genuinely, like kid's off his rocker.
His foreign policy and America's Constitution. They admire Hitler and Stalin. And that splinter faction is now being facilitated and normalized within the mainstream Republican Party. The main agent in that normalization is Tucker Carlson,
Agreed.
who is an intellectual coward, a dishonest interlocutor, and
Woo!
a terrible friend. And Tucker Carlson last week was aided.
I mean, I would disagree with Ben on any of those statements because, like, Tucker never would have gone through with an interview on Nick Fuentes if Charlie hadn't died. Because Charlie would have talked him out of it and been like, dude, you're being stupid. But now, like, he probably already had several disagreements with Tucker privately anyways, with him, like, doing that and being like, dude, you really need to watch this, bro. Like, you really need to be careful. And Tucker just hasn't listened.
Abetted, celebrated for normalizing not.
Again, I'm hypothesizing because I don't know. I'm not involved with any of these people. Obviously, I am small fish in very big pond.
Nazism within the Republican Party by the mainstay organization of the traditional right, the Heritage Foundation. Now, before we explain what's been happening, let's make one thing clear. This is not about free speech or cancellation. It was never about free speech or cancellation. Free speech has a definition: the right to speak free of governmental coercion.
Exactly.
I believe in it, of course. I've always defended it. Criticism of bad speech is, in fact, just a form of free speech. Cancellation also has a definition: the banning of particular people, including people like Nick Fuentes, from platforms like X or Facebook. I believe that Nick Fuentes is odious and despicable, but I've never called for his cancellation, and in fact, I've called for his restoration to those services, despite the fact that I think he's odious and despicable.
I would agree. Yeah, he has
cancellation to draw moral
even though
viewpoints.
Nick has said some pretty awful stuff about Ben Shapiro. Nick Fuentes has said some pretty awful stuff. Ben has still been like, hey, give this kid his platform back. He has a right to it. So Ben's done that.
In fact, we used to call that one of the key aspects of conservatism. It is not cancellation to refuse to signal boost Hitler's supporters like Nick Fuentes. It is not cancellation to criticize Tucker Carlson for rhetorically fluffing Nick Fuentes and other anti-American crackpots. It's not cancellation if you urge others to stop promoting those who rhetorically fluff Nazi apologists. Those are all elements of free speech. And anyone who says differently is lying to you, and lying for the most cynical reasons, to misdirect from their own defense of those Nazi apologists and their promoters. The issue here isn't that Tucker Carlson had Nick Fuentes on his show last week. He has every right to do that, of course. The issue here is that Tucker Carlson decided to normalize and fluff Nick Fuentes.
Sorry, I was thinking
and that
about
the Heritage Foundation then decided to robustly defend that performance. Those who criticize both Tucker and Heritage aren't canceling. They are quite properly drawing a moral line. So, for those who don't understand what's going on, let's begin with Nick Fuentes. Now, as I mentioned, last week, Tucker Carlson had on Nick Fuentes. Fuentes is a 27-year-old man who's dubbed himself the leader of a movement called the Groypers. He has a large audience of alienated young white men in particular, and he's earned increased media attention over the course of the past few years, especially over the last year. Now, from Tucker Carlson's interview, you might have gathered that Fuentes has some borderline views on race, a peculiar obsession with what he calls organized Jewry, and a rather sad relationship with the female sex. But probably you came away thinking that, for the most part, Fuentes lives on the radical edge of normality. You think that if you watch the interview, because Tucker Carlson decided that it was important not only to host Fuentes, but to smooth over his views, water them down, and make them far more palatable to a normal audience.
I was about to
As
say.
we'll discuss in a bit, this is what Tucker Carlson does for a living. But back to Nick Fuentes. To understand just what Tucker did here, we must actually examine what Nick Fuentes says on his show, and has said for almost a decade, because he was asked precisely 0 questions about any of what you're about to see by Tucker Carlson. Nick Fuentes says women want to be raped.
Huh?
A lot of women want to be raped, and when I say rape...
Oh, God. Yeah, now you know why I don't like Fuentes, because he's just sad and depressing. He's a bothersome pest, but you have to tolerate even the bothersome pest, because they all deserve... They're all made in the image of God, and they all deserve to know God. And they're all worth God's time, so they are worth your time, even when they say horrendous shit like this.
I mean, like, that sounds bad when I say it like that. But there's like a lot of women that really want a guy to beat the shit out of them.
No. Here, we're gonna end that right now. We're gonna dig in Corinthians. Give me a minute. I'll find it. The Bible is saying hi again. That's Peter, that's James, that's Timothy, Thessalonians, Philippians, Ephesians, Galatians, there it is. Is it 1 Corinthians? I think it's 1 Corinthians. So there is this passage. The unmarried and the widowed. It might be actually a Jesus statement that's stating, but what Paul says to do in the Corinthians, well, that's just the matters of sex. So I actually don't want to find that. Gosh, give me a second, boys. I'm trying to remember where it is. Oh, it's Ephesians. That's where it is. Knew I had it mixed up. Because... Okay, so that's a little further back than Corinthians. Just past. There it is. And it is... 5. So I'm in 2 right now. Here we are. Okay. $5.25. Okay. So 22 says, "Wives, submit to your own husbands as the Lord, for the husband is the head of the wife, even as Christ is the head of the church, and his body himself is the Savior. Now, as the church submits to Christ, also wives submit in everything to their husbands. Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her, that he may sanctify her, and having cleansed by her washing of water with the word, so that he might present himself to the church in splendor, without spot or wrinkle of such thing, that she might be holy without blemish. In the same way, husbands should love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. For no one ever hated his own flesh, but nourishes and cherishes it, just like Christ does the church. This man calls himself a Christian, but what I just read from the start of Ephesians 22 all the way down to 28. Actually, I went all the way down to 29, and I could go all the way down to 30, actually. Just as Christ does the church, because we are members of his body. Therefore the man shall leave his father and mother and hold fast to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. This is the mystery profound. I am saying that it refers to Christ and the church. However, let each one of you love his wife as himself, and let your wife see that she respects her husband. One of the most misquoted Bible verses in its entirety, and this again is why I stress, you can't shorthand these little verses and pull things out in these things and just, wives should submit to their husbands. Yes, but how should the husband treat her? It says to treat her like the church. I don't beat up my church, Nick Fuentes. I don't bash the walls of my church. I don't break into my church when my church doesn't want me to be there, or when it's not time for me to be there. I don't break into my church unwillingly. I don't trash it. Why are you calling me to trash my church? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Dude. Oh my gosh. That is the most disgusting words I've heard someone say in quite a hot minute. Just that alone, I could go into 5-hour blasting on this kid because I have more verses packed up that I struggle with remembering where things are oftentimes in the Bible, especially when I haven't recently read them. I haven't gone through a reading in Ephesians in like almost 10 years. So very, very poor referencing on my part. I apologize. But I knew it was either Ephesians or Corinthians, so I just looked it up on my phone. It was Ephesians, and then I found where it was. I was misremembering, because Corinthians is telling you how to treat each other in sex and marriage, and then Ephesians is telling you how to love, how to care about each other. And obviously, in telling a husband to love the wife like the church, pretty sure you don't put holes in the walls of your church. Pretty sure you don't bash and beat up your own body, Fuentes. Pretty sure you don't, do any of that. So why are you promoting the beating and raping of women? Are you kidding me? This is what I mean by read your Bible. Don't freaking shorthand your Bible. Are you kidding me? Read your Bible. Read it. Don't hear about it. Don't look at it. Read it. Because you will quickly find men like this are false and are lying when they tell you they call themselves Christian. They are lying. And it sickens me dealing with them. Sickens me.
But also, they have to pretend, but part of it is they have to pretend like they don't.
Nick Fuentes says that
crazy
his followers
lunatic
should kill, rape, and die in his name.
Raise your right hand. All right, everybody raise your right hand. Raise your right hand. Repeat after me. I will kill, rape, and die for Nicholas J. Fuentes.
No, are you kidding me? This guy is crazy dangerous. I didn't realize that he was this crazy dangerous. I knew he was crazy dangerous, but I didn't know that he was this crazy dangerous. Like, man, dude. Wow. Good God. And again, he just called for things that are sins. If we go to Leviticus, laws about vows, blessings, and obedience. I'm not going to be able to find it in Leviticus. I actually did a whole reading on Leviticus when I was a kid. I read through like a good eighth of the Bible when I was a kid. Probably more, like half of it is what I got through. I got into Daniel, I think, is about as far as I got as a kid. I can't find it in Leviticus. That's a really hard chapter for me to hunt things down in. Needless to say, though, laws in Leviticus literally say not to do that. And fun fact about Jesus, he came to fulfill the law. So in doing so, you're bad. You're wrong. No, I will not do that, and no one should be doing that. We don't know. Are you kidding me? Again, this guy calls himself a Christian and a Christian nationalist. That is nothing to do with Christianity. Nothing. Like Ephesians, I think Ephesians alone tells you that that's a no-go. Like, so many things in here tell you that's a no-go. Like, probably could find something on Romans to refute this. Probably could find something in just any one of the Gospels to refute that. Like, oh my gosh.
Nick Fuentes says that women are whores who shouldn't be in politics.
I will continue my crusade against women in politics. Because it's always like this, and it's so ironic. Women are like, I don't like, when you say...
This alone can be refuted. One of Paul's letters, he actually, I think it's an Acts. He has a woman teach people how to become pastors and preachers because she knows how to read and write. And he has her teach them. So that alone means that while the pulpit is specifically for a man, and that is the duty of a man, a woman can totally be not behind the pulpit, but beside the pulpit, help guide, again, one flesh. If it's a husband's wife, helping that husband write that sermon or anything like that, there's nothing wrong with that. But it is important because it is stated in here that only a man should be behind the pulpit. We have to abide by that. But that doesn't mean that women can't have roles. Like, a woman can be a youth pastor. A woman can be a teacher of children. A woman can have roles of authority. There's nothing in the Bible that says they can't. There's one role that is exclusively to a man, and that is being the pastor of a church, being behind the pulpit. Everything else, a woman can serve in the church, like in any other way and capacity. So this is another stance that I obviously disagree with, wherein you're just wrong, dude. Like, oh my god.
Hey, I like it. You have to affect the face. When you say to repeal the 19th Amendment, that offends me. That hurts my feelings. It's like, have you ever stopped and considered that maybe if you get offended, there's such a strong emotional reaction to political opinions you disagree with across the board? Maybe that's one of the reasons why you shouldn't be making political decisions. I'm not attacking women. I'm attacking whores. You have no problems, right? I'm attacking whores.
I do have a problem with you attacking whores, because we're called to as Christians to be among the lowly, to be among the sinful, to be among the meek, to be among the guilty, and to save them, and to help them, and to bring them out of that livelihood. That's what we're called to as Christians, not this horrendous garbage.
Whores. I'm attacking sluts. Stupid, dirty bitches.
Women are not beneath you. Oh my God. Genesis 2. We're gonna get real in it today, boys. Real in it. Here it is, creation of man and woman. He rested on the seventh day from all his work that he had done. So God blessed the seventh day to make it holy, because on it God rested and all his work that he had done in creation. The creation of man and woman. These are the generations of heaven and earth when they were created in the day of the Lord made earth and the heavens. There is no bush of the field that is as yet in the land, no small plant of the field that had yet sprung up, and the Lord God had not caused it to rain on the land. There was no man to work the ground, and a mist was going up from the land, and it was watering the whole face of the ground. When the Lord formed the man of dust from the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, the man became a living creature, and the Lord planted a garden in Eden, in the east, where he put in the man who he had formed, and out of the ground the Lord made to spring up every tree that is pleasant in the sight for good food. The tree of life was in the midst of the garden, and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. We're going to skip ahead a little bit. And he put him in the garden to work. And then he is told not to eat of the tree. Here it is, 21. No, it's a little bit further. Man gave names to all the livestock and the birds from the heavens, to every beast of the field. But for Adam there was not found a helper fit for him. So the Lord caused a deep sleep to fall upon man, and while he slept, took one of his ribs and closed up its place with flesh. And the rib that the Lord God had taken from the man was made a woman, and brought her to the man. And the man said, "This is the bone of my bones, the flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman, because she was taken out of man. Therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother, and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. And the man and his wife were both naked, and were not ashamed." So, that alone tells you that a woman is not less than you. She is a part of you. Again, that idea of one flesh is super important to conceptualize and understand. Together we are one. Together we are both made in the image of God, because God made Adam in the image of him. And from us, he made woman. So woman is also made in the image of man, and women are also worthy of that same respect and that same devotion. That's super important to recognize. And obviously, utterly disgusting no. Like, bro. You call yourself a Christian, but you speak in this manner. Disgusting. Just disgusting. Stop calling yourself a label that you clearly that you are using as a hammer. Stop it.
Nick Fuentes says that Jim Crow was actually better for black people.
That's not
It was
true.
better for them too. Number one, but number two, who cares?
That's not true. What ended up causing harm to black people was the fact that Democrats then, when they no longer could suppress them, just decided to get them addicted to welfare and flooded the streets with all sorts of problems for them. That's the problem. That's the real issue. I can't remember which. I think it was either Lyndon. I think it was Lyndon, but he said, I'm gonna have the black vote for the next 70 years. But he didn't use the word black. That's all I'll say about that. And he's the same man who developed and made the welfare state. And he purposely designed and made the welfare state to, honestly, hinder black people. I truly believe that the welfare state was, the reason why I'm so against the welfare state is because I believe it was designed, racially motivated in mind, to hinder and hurt black people, to hinder and hurt people of, like, other groups and minorities. And that's wrong. That's evil. You're made in the image of God. You're worth the same thing as me. That there shouldn't be programs out there that are designed to look helpful, but in reality are hindering and hurting you. That's evil. That's wrong. I'm against that. So obviously I'm against it. And yeah, I truly hold to these values. That's all I can say.
Who cares? Enough with the Jim Crow stuff. Who cares? Oh, to drink out of a different water fountain. Big fucking deal. Oh no, they had to go to a different school. Their water fountain in that famous picture was worse. Who cares? Grow up. Drink out of the fucking water fountain. It's water. It's the same.
Just... Dude... This is someone who has investigated nothing and spouts everything. That's all I can say.
Even if it was bad, who cares? Who cares? It's better. It's better in general. We all agree it's better for them. It's better for us. It's better in general.
Nick Fuentes says that white people are justified in being racist.
Reason that we talk about this, by the way, I know a lot of black people see this and they go, man, why are you always talking about black people, this and that? Because there just needs to be some shame here. Well, there's a few reasons. First, white people are every single bit justified in being racist.
No.
Every single bit justified.
They're
to
not.
the extent that
Racism is wrong because we are all made in the image of God and no one is above or greater than that image. Any warping of saying that the image of God is greater in me is wrong and a foulment biblically. And therefore I'm against it. It's a pretty simple premise to take and a pretty simple concept to have, and it's the concept that I hold to. And I truly wholeheartedly believe it. And wow. Just wow.
that means going out of your way to avoid black people when you see them.
Nick Fuentes is a Hitler admirer and a Holocaust denier.
Buddy, it's Führer Friday. It is Hitler Friday. Shut up. It is Heil Hitler Friday, nigga. Heil Hitler, all my niggas Nazis. Hitler was a pedophile and kind of a pagan. It's like, well, he was also really fucking cool. So, you know, time to grow up. We're not children anymore. Am I right? Am I right? Am I right, boys? Am I right? Let's go. He was also really fucking cool. It doesn't really sound correct to me. Wait a second. It takes 1 hour to cook a batch of cookies, and you have 15 ovens, probably in 4 different kitchens, right? Doing 24 hours a day, every day for 5 years. How long would it take you to make 6 million? I don't know. It certainly wouldn't be 5 years, right? The math doesn't seem to add up there.
Are you... What the... Are you kidding me, dude? Are you kidding me? Oh, so he's a Holocaust denier, too.
The math doesn't quite seem to add up there. I don't think you'd result in 6 million. Maybe...
Buddy, when you have an entire army, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, you can get a lot done very quickly when you dedicate that army towards murdering people. Go ask Stalin how well he did that. When he starved, what was it, almost 100 million Ukrainians over the period of 4 years, and all the stuff he did with the farms and everything else, and the gulags and all the other stuff. It was like, I think, by the time Stalin's reign was over and done with, it was like 200 to 300 million dead.
200 to 300,000 cookies, and I think the Red Cookie Association said something like that, probably 200 to 300,000 cookies baked, probably. And in addition, you know, in this hypothetical, I imagine that if you took aerial photographs over the kitchens, you would need to see certain smokestacks to release the smoke from baking the cookies, and the smokestacks would project certain shadows, but I guess they're not visible in the aerial photographs taken over the kitchens. Moreover, if you look at the soil texture, it's really not deep enough for mass cookie storage underground.
Because it doesn't have to be, because the body's rotted away. When a body isn't properly stored underground, it doesn't last long.
Nick Fuentes believes that the Jews start all the wars, that perfidious Jews in positions of power ought to be killed, and says the Jews are filth who have to be removed from the country.
And once again, remember who is responsible for it all. The Jews. They are responsible for every war in the world. It's not even debatable at this point.
Very debatable, actually. Insanely debatable. The Crusades were started by Islam, attacking Christian lands in historically Jewish areas and suppressing them for 500 years before they decided to swing the hammer back. So, no, you're wrong, Fuentes. Good God. Lord have mercy on you. I hope he clears your mind and clears your soul, because you clearly need it.
This has nothing to do with oil. This has nothing to do with democracy. This has nothing to do with liberal internationalism. We are at war with Iran because they pose a threat to Israel's hegemony. That's why we're bombing their new.
I hope this kid realizes that. Okay, here's the reason why Israel is somewhat important and why everyone should care that Israel stays around, is because the countries around there, Iran's power and everything else, and the groups that Iran funds and all of those things, aren't going to go away if Israel goes away. The Middle East will not go back to being quiet if Israel disappears. Okay? I hate to be that bearer of bad news. They are starting with the Jews. Hate to be the bearer of the bad news on that part, but typically, yeah, where these bad guys like to start is with the Jews. Where a lot of the world's biggest bad guys, especially in the last few centuries, like to start is with the Jews. They like to handle the Jews first and try and get rid of all the Jews first, and then do you know what they move on to? The Christians. That's what they do. That's what they move on to. The Christians. Then they move on to you. Then they move on to me. And they don't stop. Like, there's not a line in the sand they won't cross. That's why they're bad guys. That's why they're evil. That's why they can deserve to be condemned and put to justice in this world. We can ask them to convert and become faithful to God and all of those things, but justly so, they deserve just punishment on this earth, and if they do convert, part of the thing as a Christian, if you do convert, you should believe, if you have a true conversion to Christianity, you should want just punishment for any crime that you commit. You should be willing to turn yourself in for that crime, and turn yourself in for it, and be condemned for it, and rightfully go through your law system and all of those things. And you shouldn't ask for a merciful sentence. You should be asking for the right and justified sentence. What is the sentence worthy of the crime I have committed? I deserve that. I don't deserve less than that because I'm willing to turn myself in. I deserve that. I should pay for the penalties. My soul is now saved in Christ. I should pay for the rightfully pay for the penalties here on earth, as should be expected, so that way there is justice here on earth, and there is already salvation and justice for me in heaven. It's that simple.
Nukes to pave the way for regime change so Israel can dominate the region, because that makes them the most powerful they can be. There is an occult element at the high levels of society, and specifically among the Jews. So many of the people that are perpetrating the lies and the destruction
Oh
of
my
the
god,
country,
dude.
they are evildoers. They are people that worship false gods. They are people that practice magic or rituals or whatever. And more than anything, those people need to be, when we take power, they need to be given the death penalty. Straight up.
Dude, you're crazy.
And
Oh my gosh.
I'm far more concerned about that than I am about even non-white people or mass migration. These people that are communing with demons.
Bro, this guy went off the Alex Jones deep end, bro. Like, holy crap. This kid went on the Alex Jones deep end and jumped even off of that cliff. In my early years, I used to watch Alex Jones because it was just really funny to watch that fat man screaming at the microphone like a maniac. And I would just laugh and giggle like an idiot because I was like, oh my god, this dude is so crazy, it's hilarious. But obviously, he got banned because he was a nut job. And it's just a mess.
And engaging in this sort of witchcraft and stuff, and these people that are suppressing the name Christ and suppressing Christianity.
Stop using his name. Stop using his name. With the ideas that I just heard you say, you do not support the same Christ I do, and you need to do more reading in your Bible. Good Lord. Don't use his name. Don't use his name till you learn of his works and learn and understand what he did for you. And clearly learn that you have so many things wrong in your viewpoint that need to change, and you need to work on yourself so hard. It's not even funny. You need to work on yourself. Because you are so far from God right now, it's not even funny.
They must be absolutely annihilated when we take power. This is God's country. This is Jesus' country. This is not the domain of...
See, these are the nutcases that I despise, bro. These are the nutcases that make me so irrationally angry. Because you have people like me who take a stance of, like, we need to somewhat protect our borders. We need to close the border down to give us some time to actually reconcile and grow as a country together and rehomogenize and figure ourselves out. And then you have these whack jobs. Then you have these whack jobs who dare call themselves Christians, who I just literally, with a full 8-page verse from Ephesians, just totally lambasted and proved that he doesn't know anything about his Bible, and he hasn't read a single work of the Lord, and he doesn't understand a single thing in it. But he wants to call himself Christian, and he wants to push that name. These are false Christians. I'm just gonna say it. Like, you're a false Christian if you believe these things. End of story, period. Like, you understand nothing of what your God has asked you to do. And you are doing the exact opposite. You're not a Templar knight. You're the stupid pilgriming soldiers that they brought along with them that ended up taking the opportunities after they would take a town back from Islamists, and those soldiers would then go around doing horrible crap to the women before they would then get executed. That's what you are, Fuentes. You're merely the soldier for hire during the Crusades. Not a good man who knows God, but a man who uses that name unjustly and unworthlessly. You blaspheme him, and it's horrendous.
Atheists or devil worshippers or
perfidious Jews. This is Christ's country.
Josh Hammer and Mark Levin. Fuck these people.
I don't even know who
Like,
those are.
deeply, seriously, all real Americans, if you are a real American, if you were born in this...
This is someone who puts their politics before their religion. And this is the result of that. And I can tell you, this is the result of that.
country, I don't even care who you are, what you are. If you are a real American that loves this country, you have generations in this country, your family or you fought for this flag, fought for the Constitution, fought for our church, fought for our civilization.
I have. I've done more than you, Fuentes. I was in military service. I wasn't in for long, but I did more than you. So I really don't want to listen to opinion from you.
For all of you, I say about Josh Hammer and Mark Levin and Laura Loomer, fuck them. Fuck.
I have no idea who those people are, and I might now look at them and say, awesome, cool, I'm gonna listen to them more, purely because you don't want me to, and you're telling me screw them. Like, no. Oh my gosh.
Them. Deeply, seriously get them the fuck out of our country.
Nick Fuentes, it should be mentioned, despises Donald Trump and the MAGA movement as well.
Yeah.
Fuck you.
So if you're
Fuck
promoting
you.
him at
You
this point,
suck.
yeah, you're not MAGA.
You are fat.
Which
You are a
I don't even
joke,
really consider
you are
myself
stupid,
MAGA. Like,
you are not funny.
I don't even consider myself really MAGA. My America first, yes, because it's my nation and my country that I live in. So therefore, if I'm living in that nation, I am that nation first, because it is the nation that provides me protection and safety. So I'm going to want that nation to be invested in my safety. But I wouldn't really describe myself as MAGA. Like, did Trump get my vote in the last election? Yeah. But that's because out of all the candidates I had, he was the one that best fit the Christian worldview. And he's not a great candidate. He's not Christian. He doesn't hold to a lot of Christian values. I condemn him on a lot of his stances and a lot of what he does. He's a very prideful, arrogant man. And he goes too far with his words and overzealotry in his statements way too often. However, comparing him to Kamala Harris, he was by far the better pick as a Christian. He held more Christian values and more stances, and I'm always going to pick God. God can work through anybody, even a man who is not of God. So as long as that man holds more viewpoints that are in the godly interest and in the godly worldview, you're always going to have my vote, purely because of the fact that I'm going to choose the person who's already more godly than the one who's less. Because the one who's less at that current state in their life where I'm voting for him to be president isn't very inclined to probably shift from that point unless they've started really seeking God. That's why I probably won't vote leftist anytime in my lifespan, because every value they promote is almost antithetical to the Bible in one way or another. And I'm against that.
You are not as smart as you think you are. You are, and honestly, and if you watched my show, you know I've been very critical. I've never been this far. This just goes to show this entire thing has been a scam. When we look back on the history of populism in America, we are going to look back on the MAGA movement as the biggest scam in American history. And the liberals were right. The MAGA supporters were had. They were.
So, that right there is just a brief glimpse into the twisted mind of Nick Fuentes.
Horrifying glimpse. I made a whole video out of that.
Of course,
good God,
hours of it per day, in fact. And there's no doubt that Nick Fuentes has a lot of play these days. That's because the left, by moving into a politics of anti-white, anti-Christian, anti-male identitarianism, created its bizarro mirror image.
Yeah, it did. And it's horrifying. Both sides are just absolutely horrifying.
A white pseudo-Christian incel identitarian movement dedicated to destroying the institutions of this country and replacing Americanism with something else.
Agreed.
Nick Fuentes' philosophy is not fully formed. It's an incoherent stew of malignity. But that's where Tucker
Facts.
Carlson enters the story.
Oh boy.
Now, since his exit from Fox News in 2023, when, of course, he was a very, very popular host, Tucker Carlson has turned himself into a conspiracist and a crank and a pathological liar. Tucker excuses Vladimir Putin's murderous and
I would
barbarous
agree.
reign. He has even become one of his most ardent defenders.
Yeah, that's
It is so
terrifying.
much nicer than any city in my country. I had no idea. My father spent a lot of time there in the 80s when he worked for the US government and barely had electricity. And now it is so much cleaner and safer and prettier aesthetically. It's architecture, it's food, it's service than any country, city in the United States that you have to, and this is non-ideological. How did that happen? How did that happen?
A lot of things can happen under a dictator. They're a dictator. They can do anything. And that doesn't mean that they're a good person or that you should support them. Just because they make things good on the surface level. Like, have you never read a dystopian novel? Like, that's like the first thing that you learn, is that things on the surface level in the dystopia are good and pretty and nice and homogenized and all these great things, and we're all working together, and then the lower context is, oh god, everything is horrible and bad. Like, Tucker, you're not this stupid. Like, how much are they paying you, bro? How much are they paying you and, like, letting you shove this down your own throat and head? Like, this is a grifter. This is a shill.
And at a certain point, I don't think the average person cares as much about abstractions as about the concrete reality of his life. And if you can't use your subway, for example, as many people are afraid to in New York City because it's too dangerous, you have to sort of wonder, like, isn't that the ultimate measure of leadership? And that's true, by the way, it's radicalizing for an American to go to Moscow, I didn't know that, I've learned it this week, to Singapore, to Tokyo, to Dubai and Abu Dhabi. Because these cities, no matter how we're told they're run and on what principles they're run, are wonderful places to live.
They look nice aesthetically. Abu Dhabi looks nice aesthetically, but when you dive into its depths just a little bit, it's a horror show. I watched a whole little thing onto the back ends of Dubai, and like the horrible stuff that goes on there. It's awful.
So I guess you put in 10 rubles here.
Oh, he's showing
get it
this clip.
back
I saw this on
when
Crowder's
you put the
video.
cart back. So it's free, but there's an incentive to return it and not just bring it to your homeless encampment. I went from amused to legitimately angry. So we were guessing what this would cost. Everybody hears from the United States buys groceries, and
Yeah, I can get that same amount of food here in the United States for $104. I just have to shop intelligently, and I just can't buy everything I see off the shelf.
we didn't pay any attention to costs as we were just putting in the cart what we would actually eat over a week. And we all came in around $400, about $400. It was $104 US here. And that's when you start to realize that ideology maybe doesn't matter as much as you thought.
No, it does matter a lot. Ideals are the morals on which you build everything. And you should hold yourself to your morals, and therefore hold yourself to your ideals and try to stand for them and try to live up to them. Saying that they're just ideals gives you the excuse to be this. To be morally submissive to the world and give up on God, basically, at times when needed, which is the wrong thing to do.
Corruption. If you take people's standard of living and you tank it through filth and crime and inflation, and they literally can't buy the groceries they want, at that point, maybe it matters less what you say or whether you're a good person or a bad person. You're wrecking people's lives in their country, and that's what our leaders have done to us.
When Tucker Carlson interviewed Vladimir Putin, by the way, Vladimir Putin was so amused by Tucker Carlson's easy questioning that he actually mocked him. Tucker Carlson has massaged the Iranian dictatorship and admitted to not asking any difficult questions of the president of that dictatorship.
The interview is limited by a couple of factors. One, it was done by remote through a translator. That's always awkward. For another, I don't speak Persian. And there are all kinds of questions that I didn't ask the president of Iran, particularly questions to which I knew I could not get an honest answer, such as, was your nuclear program totally disabled by the bombing campaign by the U.S. government a week and a half ago? There's no chance he's going to answer that question honestly. I didn't bother to ask it. The answer, in fact, from an American perspective, even from the CIA's perspective, is unknowable.
Tucker bizarrely worships at the altar of Qatar.
Yeah, that
They're mad at you because you don't put your
weird.
parents in some institution. Maybe they're trying to break up your families.
Well, it can be a reason. Honestly, I don't know what is really the purpose behind this, but we see that, you know, a lot of things that are happening are attacks on humanity in general. It's when you lose the family value, when you lose the connection between.
Yeah, Muslim family values are not the same as Christian family values. Again, go read the Quran.
The family themselves, you will lose the connection between the people as well, on a broader level, on the people in the same neighborhood, on the people in the same region, in the same countries, and that's basically will just make us, you know, as individuals who are quote unquote independent from anyone. That's what we will feel. Yet it will just make our societies vulnerable and easy to be penetrated.
That's right.
Tucker Carlson praises Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro, even as Maduro keeps the entire country in communist penury and ships fentanyl into the United States to kill Americans by the hundreds of thousands.
Yeah, that one I had a
was
big
so
problem
opposed
with.
to Nicolas Maduro. So if you ask someone on the street, random person, why are we against Nicolas Maduro? The answer you're going to get is, who's Nicolas Maduro? But if you find someone in South Florida, for example, who knows who Nicolas Maduro is, who can identify where Venezuela is on a map, that person will almost certainly say, well, because he's a communist or a socialist, he's exceedingly left-wing, and that is true. Nicolas Maduro and his government are very left-wing on economics. Not on social policy, by the way, which is kind of interesting. In Venezuela, gay marriage is banned, abortion is banned, sex changes for transgenderism are banned. It's one of the very few countries in the entire hemisphere with those policies. It is on social policy, not defending the regime, just saying. One of the most conservative countries in North.
You are defending the regime by saying this, dude. Like, why are you lying? Why are you lying, Tucker Carlson? Why are you lying? It's disgusting. It really is disgusting. Quit lying in this manner, dude. Like, this is a defense of that.
Or South or Central America. Only El Salvador really comes close.
Tucker Carlson glosses Hamas, the genocidal jihadi group behind October
No,
7th. It's a political organization.
I haven't heard this.
You can't claim that they're in Hamas while simultaneously claiming that Hamas is a group of jihadis. They're Islamic extremists, which
they are. Well, honestly, that's the spooky thing about Islamist extremism. Is Islamist extremism isn't actually extremism. It's just a literal adherence. If an Islamic extremist is extremist because they truly adhere to everything the Quran says, then I am definitely would be classified as a Christian extremist because I try to adhere to as much of the Bible as I can. Now, I don't adhere to like every single bit of Leviticus and all of those things, and that's because of part of that fulfillment of the law is that the ceremonial. So getting into this just briefly. Basically, Christians don't follow a lot of the ceremonial law of Jewish culture, or the as it's often can be labeled as the separating law, because that law was built and designed to separate the Jews from among all of the nations around them and make them distinct, make them unique. And so when Christ fulfilled that part, he rebound us all together, as he puts in one of his in one of the Gospels. A new haft has been sewn onto the tree. The tree has been fused together, per se. A new branch has been tied to the tree to grow and to prosper. So that's what that's what's happened, and in doing so, that means that part of the law no longer needs to be followed, and part of the law, the moral law, was written on our hearts. That law is forever to be followed because every single man knows the moral law, and you can see that culturally in the aspects of belief systems and um, that provides the necessary tools and the necessary things to sorry, I'm losing my train of thought. Basically, when Jesus died and fulfilled all of the law, the ceremonial law fell away because it was no longer needed to separate us from the rest of the world, because the rest of the world had been grafted in to the Church of Christ. It had been grafted in back to God. The world had been healed. It had been put back together. The branch has been truly united, and therefore that separation of us is no longer needed. You can read about this in Acts 2, wherein the only food that we're not supposed to eat as Christians is food sacrificed to idols. That's it for food, and to abstain from sexual immorality. In that we should hold into the rest of the laws and uphold the sexual immorality, and uphold to the moral aspect of the law, basically, and we don't need to uphold to the food. And that part of the separation, you can really read that into Acts. Take a dive into Acts, you'll see what I mean. You'll be able to understand what I'm talking about here. And Jesus also speaks about it when he's talking about grafting the tree, as is found in one of the Gospels. I can't remember which, but look up Jesus grafting the tree. You'll probably find the verse in the whole sermon I'm talking about.
Also claim constantly, which I don't know if that's true, by the way. It seems more like a political organization, but whatever it is, they're telling us constantly they're Al-Qaeda.
Tucker Carlson has attacked President Trump as a cover-up artist for sex trafficker Jeffrey Epstein on behalf of Israel and Mossad, making sure, of course, never to mention President Trump's name, because, of course, Tucker's a coward.
Yeah.
And moreover, it's extremely obvious to anyone who watches that this guy had direct connections to a foreign government. Now, no one's allowed to say that that foreign government is Israel because we have been somehow cowed into thinking that that's naughty. There is nothing wrong with saying that. There is nothing hateful about saying that.
Tucker Carlson has stated that President Trump has undermined America First and MAGA by attacking Iran, giving in to neocon ghouls like Mark Levin, while also idiotically arguing that President Trump striking Iran's nuclear facilities would lead to World War III. Spoiler alert, it didn't. Tucker Carlson also said in his interview with Nick Fuentes that the people he hates most in the entire world, more than ISIS, Al-Qaeda, Trans-Tifa, Marxists, rapists, murderers, are Christian Zionists who represent an enormous chunk of the conservative base. According to Tucker Carlson, who admits that he first read the Bible all the way through just 2 years ago, Christians who support a Jewish state of Israel are heretics and blasphemers with a brain virus.
Not true.
How do you explain Mike Huckabee?
That's not true. We are all made in the argument is we are all made in the image of God. No one is entitled to be exterminated. The countries surrounding Israel all wish to exterminate them, and after they exterminate them, they're not going to just stop there. And therefore, in that aspect, we need to stand up and support these people, just as I believe we need to do in Nigeria with the massacre going on in Nigeria, just as we need to do in so many different places. Again, we're all made in the image of God. That's vitally important to keep in mind and keep in your framing as a Christian. in how you view people and how you believe and treat people. So, yeah, just that pisses me off.
Ted Cruz, and there are a lot like that. John Bolton. I mean, I've known them all. George W. Bush, like the Karl Rove. I mean, all people I know personally who I've seen like be seized by this brain virus, and they're not Jewish. And most of them are self-described Christians, and then the Christian Zionists who are, well, Christian Zionists. Like, what is that?
Right.
And I could just say for myself, I dislike them more than anybody, because like, what? Because it's Christian heresy, and I'm offended by that as a Christian.
It's not Christian heresy. Again, we're all made in the image of God. Are you saying that Jews aren't made in the image of God? That they're worthy of extermination, that Israel should be wiped off the map? Because that's what the groups around them are trying to do. That's why you should care about Israel as a Christian. Is the groups around them are seeking their extermination, because after their extermination is over, they're going to exterminate you. I just read you that part of the Quran. Like, at the beginning of this.
Tucker Carlson has said that he despises American Jews who care about October 7th. We, in his words, don't care about America and also want to get his kids killed in a foreign war.
You know, I've got 4 draft-age children. So if you're playing recklessly, fast and loose with their lives, then I have a right to despise you, and I do. So if you're Nikki Haley, who's running for president, or Ben Shapiro, or half the people I see on television casually mentioning the possibility of nuclear war, or sending Americans to fight in the Middle East, or in any way involving us in a war that has nothing to do with prosperity and peace at home, nothing, in other words, to do with us, Americans, then I have a right to call you out and be really offended, because it's my family. They live here. It's not a joke to me. There's nothing abstract about it.
But most of all, Tucker Carlson acts as an ideological launderer for other people's evils. Tucker Carlson says many inflammatory things, always buying back just enough of it to appear as though he's not saying what he's clearly saying. He's a master of gaslighting. Tucker Carlson, for example, would never say out loud what Nick Fuentes does. He wouldn't say the things many of his guests say. And so instead, he acts as an ideological launderer. He takes other people's hideous ideas, he softens them, he treats them with love and care, and then he provides them with a massive signal boost. He isn't...
Yeah, and that's where I've had a serious problem with Carlson, is that that's what he's been doing. And, like, that's where the problem lies with Carlson. That's why I've stopped watching him. That's why I think many people should stop watching him. He is purely trying to antagonize and grow sides of the aisle that we should be vehemently opposed to. I'm gonna let Tucker. Not Tucker. I'm probably gonna stop it. Probably about here, because that's this advertisement, I think. And then that's where I'll call
merely talking to people in good faith, of course. He's promoting certain people and ideas and attacking others. So, for example, he'll ask a series of wildly obsequious questions to Nick Fuentes. He'll even let Nick Fuentes' support for Joseph Stalin slide.
It's actually funny. It's December 18th. I remember because that's an important date to me. And it's Joseph Stalin's birthday.
Oh.
I'm a fan.
You're a fan of Stalin's.
Mm-hmm. Oh, isn't it?
If the dude's a fan of Stalin, the dude's a fan of an atheist. A staunch anti-Christian atheist. I don't know if you know what actually happened to his regime. He killed a lot of Orthodox leaders. A lot of Orthodox leaders. Not just Jewish Orthodox people, but he killed a lot of members of the church and people like that. Like, Stalin was a maniac and an evil, vile man.
Admirer. But we don't need to go into that, I guess.
But he will grill Ted Cruz about the population of Iran. Tucker Carlson will have on Vladimir Putin's evil, anti-American mouthpiece, Alexander Dugin, and then praise him.
Alexander Dugin is a 62-year-old Russian academic philosopher. He spent his life in Moscow. He was an anti-Soviet dissident as a young man. And now he is famous the world over, in the English language press anyway, as, quote, Putin's brain. But he is not a political figure here in Russia. He is...
If you're a philosopher, you're somewhat involved in politics, because here's a secret, people. Here's a secret to how we all live our lives, and this is why I can even be against and have a problem with anyone who considers themselves secular promoting their ideas in school, and therefore this is why the interpretation of separation of church and state currently, as it has been held in America, is wrong. Every single human being lives their lives based on their moral ideas, on your thoughts on ethics, on your thoughts on things, on your philosophies. Every single person does. No one is neutral. No one. Do I need to read my favorite verse in Romans that I've been quoting over and over again? Do I need to read Romans 3 again? Do I? Maybe I need to read Romans 3 again. Definitely one of my favorite verses. Really got to find the psalm for it. Been a little too busy to do that. No. Every single person lives their lives based on that. And where you develop that. That is a person's identity. A lot of people's that get shaped by their religion. Philosophy, when you read Plato, when you read all of these things, is just another version of religion. It all is religious in some context or another. Plato's ideas and beliefs on the demiurge and all of these other things come from his beliefs on Dionysus and the mortal soul is bad and the ascensionism to heaven and all of these other things. So in that aspect, everybody has a religion. Everybody lives based off of their morals. And if you live based off your morals, you need to promote your morals. And laws are... Sorry. I guess I should framework this on why am I making this argumentation. Because morals are based off of... Sorry. Laws get... I have it backwards. Laws get based off of morals. Okay? Laws come from morality. Your morality comes from your identity. And your identity is shaped by the life and the philosophies you have come into contact with and have lived with. And philosophy is no different, and no matter where you go and what you're from religion. Philosophy is just religion in a different name. I promise you. They all have stems in religion in one aspect or another. Including Marx, who took from Hegel, who took from this. And when you trace it all the way back, it goes into Plato, and it goes into Pythagoras, and to all of these other groups, and all these other places. I just did a whole tracing on this, and a whole... I call it trace reading, where basically you read backwards. You start with one guy, and then you go, okay, where did he get his ideas from? Okay, read this guy. Okay, where did he get his ideas from? Okay, read this guy. Where did he get his ideas from? Okay, read this guy, etc., 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 until you find the focal point. And once you find the focal point, that's when you go, ah, yes. And then you retrace it back. So once you found your focal point, you trace it all back, and you look at the context of these texts, and you see where these imprints are, and you see how this shaped this man, and how it shaped this man's worldviews and things like that. And gonna be the bearer of bad news, it all comes from religion. I know there's a lot of atheists out there and anti-religious people out there and things like that who are like, oh, I hate religion. You don't hate religion. Your life was shaped by religion in one aspect or another. You have a religion. Your religion just doesn't want to involve God. That's the only difference. We all have religion. We all have morals. They're all shaped from that. And they shape our laws. And so I have a right to my morals and my beliefs and things like that, and you have a right to yours. and we are allowed to discuss and debate in public forum and decide how to run a society based on all of that. So I have a right to mine, and that separation of church and state isn't there. In the same way people think it is. That separation of church and state is, the Bill of Rights is there to keep the government from doing bad things to the people. Okay? We're one of the few countries that has that, where we have a bunch of no-nos that our government isn't allowed to do. Okay? And it's a beautiful thing that we should really be happy with and really fight tooth and nail to protect every bit about it. Because it's not about keeping problems out of our government. It's about keeping our government out of our lives and causing problems for us. Because governments often cause problems for us. Again, Romans and Acts, great books to read out of the good book. Really recommend them. Great reads. Really recommend them. You can learn a lot. And you can really see just how much a government can come bring a hammer down on things.
Once again, a philosopher. And his ideas are deeply offensive to some people. In August of 2022, his only daughter was murdered in Moscow when a car bomb killed her. U.S. intelligence says she was murdered by the Ukrainian government, and we take that at face value. But what's interesting is that, once again, Alexander Dugin is not a military leader. He's not a close daily advisor to Vladimir Putin. He is a writer who writes about big ideas. And for this,
I've never read Dugin. I haven't looked at him. I haven't traced him like I have with Marx. Marx was the one that I traced first because communism has become an infatuation in the U.S., and therefore I felt it was necessary to tackle that concept and investigate those ideas and see where they stem and come from. And where they stem from and come from is, not good places. That's my answer to that.
his books have been banned by the Biden administration in the United States. You cannot buy them on Amazon. Banning books in the United States because the ideas inside are too dangerous. He's often described, again in the English language press, as far right. We'll let you assess, but we wanted to talk to him about some of his ideas.
Okay.
Tucker Carlson for World War II, and he will call him America's best and most honest historian. Tucker Carlson will have on a Hitler-friendly pseudo-historian to minimize the Holocaust and blame Winston Churchill for World War II.
I remember that.
And he will call him America's best and most honest historian.
No.
I thought Churchill was the chief villain of the Second World War. Now, he didn't kill the most people. He didn't...
Churchill? Churchill was the villain? Oh my god, dude. I don't even really want this dude to finish his statement. I'm gonna let him finish his statement, and as soon as he does, I'm gonna go in a tirade on this, and then I'm gonna call a video here, because, like, this is just making me angry.
Commit the most atrocities. But I believe, and I don't really think, I think when you really get into it and tell the story right and don't leave anything out, you see that he was primarily responsible for that war.
He wasn't primarily responsible for that war. Are you just like a Hitler fan, dude? Like, this is spooky how many people want to think that Hitler was the good guy. Like, someone who thinks it's okay to murder millions of people and thinks that there is one supreme race is an evil bad guy. I'm sorry. I will always think that, because again, there's this beautiful book called the Bible. In it, it teaches you every single human is made in the image of God and therefore has equal and important value. It's awesome. Take a read of it. Can't recommend it enough. It survived over, I think, oldest text we have on it is 7,000 years, and it stems back almost close to 8,000 years. So, in an oral tradition or fashion in one way or another, as far as we can tell. So, with that in mind, big fan of it. Take a read of it. Really good book. Can teach you a whole lot about life. Can do a lot of good in your life. Can't recommend it enough. And, anyone who thinks like that is wrong. Hitler and the Emperor of Japan and Stalin were the bad guys of World War II. It's not that hard to figure out. And they were the bad guys because they were the ones going around taking over territory and killing people en masse. That's why they're the bad guys. Because they're saying this horrible thing, which is that your life is less valuable than mine. And fun fact, biblically, that's a wrong. One of the most misunderstood things about Christians. Good Lord.
Becoming what it did, becoming something other than an invasion of Poland. You know, Germany, look, they put themselves into a position, and Adolf Hitler's chiefly responsible for this, but his whole regime is responsible for it, that when they went into the East in 1941, they launched a war where they were completely unprepared to deal with the millions and millions of prisoners of war, of local political prisoners and so forth that they were going to have to handle. They went in with no plan for that. And they just threw these people into camps, and millions of people ended up dead there.
And that is the pseudo-historian that Tucker Carlson has said is the best and most honest historian in America. Tucker Carlson will have on over and over a pro-Chinese propagandist who used global warming to promote global socialism.
Okay, we'll continue
all in order to criticize Israel and hug China.
Israel has run American foreign policy in the Middle East for 30 years.
No, they haven't.
How it works. This is actually the truth. If we drop our angst on big bad Russia, actually, we didn't have a chance to talk about it this time, maybe another time, big bad China, which is also not going to invade the United States, not going to threaten us.
No. Their goal is basically an erosion of the United States. Their goal, they don't care about invading us, they care about eroding us into dust.
Us not going to go to war.
And they plan on invading American allies. That they plan on. And they're willing to go to war with the U.S. on that. They just need the U.S. to be more eroded and more weak. And we haven't done that yet. And thank God we haven't done that yet.
War with us. They got they're trying to deal with aging, and they've got their declining population and many other things. Not that they're falling apart. It's a very impressive civilization, but
no, they are falling apart.
They're not a threat to the United States, honestly, and Iran is not a threat.
Are you kidding me? Iran is a big threat.
Voices, episode after episode after episode. The instances are almost limitless. Tucker Carlson will host Andrew Tate, a pornographer and scam artist who mocks rape victims and preaches a cult of narcissism and cruelty. And of course, Tucker Carlson will glorify him and present him as a maligned truth teller rather than an emblem of moral rot. See, this is how Tucker Carlson's ideological laundering works. You bring your dirty, ugly ideologies to Tucker Carlson's rhetorical car wash. He mixes it with some of the vestigial respect Americans have for him from his Fox News days, and voila, hideous ideas suddenly become mainstream. And then, of course,
terrifying.
Tucker denies he said anything controversial at all. He was just asking questions. He was just interviewing people. You don't want him to cancel people, do you? Of course, there is no First Amendment right to a Tucker Carlson sensual massage. But to listen to Tucker, you'd think there was, so long as you despise America, oppose President Trump's foreign policy, and bear a peculiar dislike of Jews. Tucker Carlson, you see, is a coward. And here is where his relationship with Nick Fuentes begins. With Nick Fuentes correctly pointing out that Tucker Carlson is a coward. You see, Tucker Carlson, a few weeks back, had on Candace Owens to treat her to his usual ideological laundering services.
Yeah, I don't
That's after years of Candace Owens saying things like this.
Yeah.
And it is the case that dinosaur bones, for whatever reason, are always just found by the paleontologist.
Wow, they're just found by the paleontologist? Yeah, it's almost like they're looking for them.
Paleontologist. Like, it's not like you and me walking outside. I'm like, hey, a dinosaur bone.
Have you been to the beach? You can find some pretty old fossils on the beach from time to time. I've done that. I know people who have done that, so that's not true.
And or by somebody who's related to a paleontologist. It's very strange. And then, but it was just convenient for Israel that JFK got shot. It was just convenient, you guys. Totally convenient. It was convenient for Israel, by the way, when the towers went down. I just want to be...
It was convenient? Oh, God. This is why I don't watch this woman under any circumstances. Because she is just an anti-Jew fanatic. And that is just disturbing. Because, again, there's this great lesson you'll learn if you read your Bible. It's called We're All Made in the Image of God. Pretty important value to hold. I'm going to say it again. Read your Bible. Read it. Don't look at it. Don't hear about it. Read it. Good Lord.
Clear. Anything happens to me, blame the Zionists. Like 1000% blame the Zionists. Like let that be my parting word. I'm waking people up to the fact that pedophiles are in power.
Yes.
They are literally in power. And that is intentional because then they can be controlled while they are in power.
God.
And they are also exhibiting signs.
I think there are some pedophiles in power? Absolutely. I hate to say that, but yeah, it's probably true. There probably is a pretty dark ring of evil in our American government. That wouldn't surprise me at all. And that's pretty evident in the fact that, fun fact, people seem to have such short memory about this. The whole Epstein thing went down right before I think Trump was getting out of office and was going on and happened right as Biden was getting into office, if I remember correctly. Might be a little way before Biden was getting office, but like by the time Biden was in office, Biden had the Epstein files. Biden sat on them for 4 years and did nothing with them. What does that say? Well, as far as we know, did nothing with them. I'm more inclined to believe that he tampered the shit out of them, and therefore, or there's documents missing and things like that, and they're doctored and messed up and all sorts of things that, yeah, if they were just to release them as is, like, one, there'd be obvious signs of doctoring, and that's going to immediately get blamed on Trump and them. Even though they've only been in office for less than a year, it would get blamed on Trump. And two, we're just going to get angry. Because we're not actually going to have the truth. We're going to have this warped, messed up document that doesn't actually tell us anything. Doesn't actually give us an accurate list or a good list. Or doesn't actually say anything to the truth. And that's the problem. Because these documents sat for 4 years under a government who kept it in lock and key and also decided to, oppress the American people in some of the most horrendous ways I've ever seen happen. In all honesty. It was bad. Biden was some of the 4 darkest years in American history. The COVID lockdown should not have been extended in the way they were, and the actions taken during those COVID lockdowns were horrendous.
Of a psychopathology that lets them know that they will do harm to the masses and feel nothing because they were themselves, many of them, raped when they were children.
Yep.
It is not a coincidence that Justin Trudeau is gay, Obama, gay, Zelensky, gay, Emmanuel Macron, gay and married to a trans man who molested him when he was a child.
Oh my God!
While Candace Owens had recently hosted Nick Fuentes and then
Woo!
Tucker Carlson in an attempt to dissociate from
She's getting
Fuentes
sued for
to
that
label
one, by
him
the
a
way.
weird little gay kid operating from a basement, and a Fed as well.
That's obvious to me. I've been around a long time. I know it when I see it.
Yeah, and I will say I don't understand it. We were very kind to him. Like, I truly, we almost said, we felt maybe he was a bit lonely. We should invite him back for dinner. I mean, that's how good of an experience I had.
Clearly it's
and then
sad.
it was a 180. So it's either A, it's being driven from a little boy insecurity, and he just was so worried that he just went on the attack because he doesn't know how to have normal relations after being banned everywhere.
Well, I think there's that
could be one element.
The angry gay kid thing going on. Yeah.
Well,
The angry
Nick
gay
Fuentes
kid
did not
thing.
take kindly to this. After all, here was Tucker Carlson, a man Nick Fuentes correctly sees as a fellow traveler, dismissing him, all the while refusing to say the sorts of things for which Fuentes takes slings and arrows. And so Fuentes unleashed on him as a fraud and also as an expert on gaslighting.
Oh, I didn't see this.
Tucker is like the goat of gaslighting.
Oh,
But unironically,
man.
he goes.
It's funny because this whole side is just eating themselves. They're doing the same thing as the left does, where they eat themselves alive, along with also trying to cause problems for the rest of the group. They're very good at eating themselves and attacking everything, and they're just a destructive force.
Up at the memorial and said Charlie Kirk told the truth. You know who else told the truth? Jesus. And you know what happened? He got killed by Jews. And people said, so are you saying that the Jews killed Charlie Kirk in the way that they killed Jesus for telling the truth because they hate the truth? And Tucker said, I never said that. You're crazy. I never said that. Everyone eats hummus. What do you mean everyone runs Jerusalem? But I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth. Tucker Carlson says, I have so many trust funds, I never have to work. Tucker went to a $45,000 per year private high school, then a $45,000 per year selective Ivy League school in New England. Tucker Carlson's daddy was a Reagan appointee. And then, after years of bragging about being an elite, bragging about being so out of touch and so rich, now he's going to be the spokesperson for all the white people. Now he's going to roll up his sleeves. I just like to hunt and fish in my log cabin. I care about Klarna and credit card debt.
Oh, God.
But then when it comes to me, I'm one of the real disaffected white people. You want...
Bro, again, stop with the whole race debate shit, dude. It's disgusting. We're all made in the image of God. I can't stress that enough. That just seems to be the message of today's videos. We're all made in the image of God. You're made in God's image. I'm made in God's image. That's a super important value that you should uphold to, because it really helps shape you into someone who just cares about people for being people and able to see them as individuals and hold them to an individual standard and nothing else. Like, that's a super important way to shape and have your mind, because it helps so much. And obviously he doesn't do it. Obviously he doesn't do it. Obviously Tucker doesn't do it. Obviously Candace Owens doesn't do it. That much is clear. And it's disgusting.
I want to talk about me and them. I am them.
Well, there was one big problem for Tucker Carlson in all of this. Nick Fuentes is absolutely 100% correct. Tucker is a coward, and Tucker's audience, much of which he shares with Nick Fuentes, knows it. And so Tucker hit upon a final stratagem. He let Nick Fuentes cuck him. He brought Nick Fuentes on to legitimate his ideology. He signal boosted Fuentes, glossed him, shined him, presented him to the world, all in order to protect his own reputation with his online base. A base he is competing over with Nick Fuentes. Now, of course, Tucker has a right to do all of this for the 100th time. He can do what he likes. This is America. But there's no question that Tucker has become the most virulent super spreader of vile ideas in America. And the rest of us, who oppose those vile ideas, have every right to call him that. There's one other element here that's even darker, if possible. Tucker Carlson preys on the friendship he proclaims with others, and then he knifes them directly between the shoulder blades when convenient for him. Tucker Carlson is, in short, a terrible friend.
Yeah, he is.
Tucker Carlson was supposedly Charlie Kirk's friend. Charlie believed that Nick Fuentes was vermin. That's a direct quote.
Agreed.
He believed that because Nick Fuentes dedicated his life to destroying Charlie Kirk and TPUSA from the inside. In fact, here's Nick Fuentes describing Charlie Kirk the month before Charlie was murdered.
Charlie Kirk cannot call himself a Christian anymore. Sorry, you forfeited that.
No, you can't call yourself you can't call yourself a Christian anymore, Fuentes. You can't. You can't call yourself a Christian anymore. Because you're not upholding to one of the most essential ideas in the Bible that said time and time and time again, which is that we're all made in the image of God. And you have a superiority complex and a tier list. And a tier list of people who need to be executed. You can't call yourself a Christian. You.
Not want to hear, and you cannot allow Charlie Kirk to go to one more public event, one more question and answer, one more ask me anything, without being protested, without being shouted down, without being interrogated about this. This guy goes around from campus to campus in the most artificial and phony and fake way,
And here is
artificial, phony, and fake way. Artificial and phony and fake way. Do you go around in campuses, Fuentes? I don't think you do. Shut the hell up, dude.
He destroyed TPUSA from the inside.
Whether he chooses to confront me or not, whether he has dignity and honor or not, it's just a matter of time. My ideas are already there. I've already impregnated your organization.
That's disgusting.
I took Turning Point USA and I fucked it. I took your organization, I took your baby, Turning Point USA, and I fucked it. And I've been fucking it. And that's why it's filled with groypers. That's why your whole crew, that's why the people around you, that's why your chapter presidents, that's why your attendees, they're all groypers.
And here's Nick Fuentes calling Charlie Kirk unpatriotic and talking about how he's a retarded idiot and saying all firepower should be focused on Charlie Kirk.
I think a lot of people are starting
he's just
to
disgusting,
find out.
bro.
Charlie
I know I
Kirk
said
is
I was
not-
going to end the video here, but like, he just keeps clip farming. And thank you, Ben, for the great clip farm that you provided me today with this episode. Thank you. God bless you. And thank you for helping me with this video by having content yourself and allowing me to react to it.
The patriot that he says he is. And so I look at what happened last night and I think to myself, this is totally a doable operation. You know, Charlie Kirk in the grand scheme of things is just some retarded idiot. The dog is terrified. I had to go upstairs and reassure him because I'm screaming at my screen, calling Charlie Kirk a bitch and everything. The contrast could not be more clear. Charlie Kirk is a totally unexceptional human being.
Why
the moral
are
struggle
you
that's happening on the higher dimension,
so
right?
disgusting?
Which is Christ versus
dude.
the devil. Who does Charlie Kirk serve? You know, is he really a Christian? Is he really
Who
Christ?
do you serve? Who do you serve? Why are you going against one of the most fundamental rules in the Bible? Why are you going against one of the most fundamental teachings in the Bible? Why can I cite thing after thing after thing after thing from you, not Charlie Kirk? I can't find Charlie Kirk disagreeing with Ephesians 25. I can't find Charlie Kirk disagreeing with we are all made in the image of God. As a matter of fact, I can find clip after clip of him saying, well, we are all made in the image of God, and then going into how important and valuable that is, and how that should be the uniting factor for us, and not something that, and we shouldn't be separating ourselves. Where are you doing this, Fuentes? Where are you doing this? Where are you doing this? Like, call yourself a Christian, hold yourself to the values. Or don't call yourself it at all. That goes for everybody. I get so angry about this. Because people like this man disgust me when they call themselves Christians. And they call themselves on these actions and these things. And they just make me so angry. And I know that's wrong, but man, I can't help but call them that. Because they have to be called out.
It's like when he supports foreign wars and Israel and all this. Look at the people he's taking money from. You know, so the guy's a fake Christian. The guy's not...
No, you're the fake Christian. You're the fake Christian. I just proved it. I have proved it.
a patriot. He hates our country. He's un-American. Let's focus all our firepower on Charlie Kirk. Why are we doing this? It's because Charlie Kirk is a fake patriot, a fake Christian, and he hates his people. He's anti-white. This is our angle.
Nick Fuentes.
Oh my God, dude.
Is despised Charlie Kirk. And for good reason, because Charlie Kirk actually opposed Nick's evil program. Here's what Charlie Kirk had to say about Nick Fuentes' agenda.
But if you go back to the original founding fathers, they intended this to be a European nation for white men of good stock and character.
Absolutely not.
Can you show me? Let me answer the question. Can you show me where in the United States Constitution it says that?
It wasn't in the Constitution.
It wasn't in the Constitution because they didn't believe it.
The founding.
What does the?
Yeah, let's go, Charlie. Let's go. Cook this man. Cook him good. Put him in the fryer. Deep fry that man. Let's deep fry him. Deep fry him, in the words. Deep fry him good. Deep fry him nice and fucking crispy. Cook him up, Charlie.
Phrase e pluribus unum mean? What does the phrase e pluribus unum mean?
Why is that relevant?
Because it was on every founding document and presidential seal from our founding, which means out of many, one. You, sir, and your ideology is not conservative. It is one and presidential seal from our...
Why is that relevant?
Because it was on every founding document and presidential seal from...
Cook him, Charlie. Cook him up. Cook him up like a nice chicken fried dinner, bro. Cook him up good. Cook him up something fierce.
Out of many,
one.
You, sir, and your ideology is not conservative. It is right-wing, identitarian, and has no place in the conservative movement, my friend.
Agreed.
Get out of line. Get out of line.
Woo! One of the best moments from Charlie there, bro. One of the best moments from Charlie there. Absolutely cooked him. As he said that. Out of many, one. Out of many, one. This is a man who speaks biblical truth. This is a man who held to biblical values. And I miss him every day. I miss him every day.
And I don't platform and I don't discuss people or I don't debate with people.
I guess we're doing the full video on
are not good faith actors. And
you debate now is that people champion.
They can keep on yelling at how successful we are and our big events and well over 1,000 employees, but a lot of jealousy out there. We build, they complain.
Yep.
We succeed, we win. They blame the Jews.
I love that comment from Charlie. We succeed, we win, they blame the Jews. So true. So true, man. So true. So true. So true. Absolutely so true. Again, I can't stress enough. As Charlie Kirk has said, and you can find it all over the internet, we are all made in the image of God. And you know where that comes from? The Bible. The Bible. The thing I've been pounding on. It's this great, awesome book. Take a read out of it. Can't promote it enough. Won't stop promoting it. I'm a big fan of it. Read it. It's awesome. It's good for you. It'll do a lot for your life. Read it. Don't hear about it. Don't look at it. Read it. There's a difference. Do it. Reading requires comprehension. That's a hint.
Charlie's death, TPUSA made Tucker Carlson one of its chief faces. Tucker, of course, spoke at Charlie's memorial, where he implied that hummus-eating nefarious Jews killed Charlie, with no mention of the ideology of the actual alleged murderer, who was, of course, a trans activist gay furry.
Yeah, I was about to say, that was the one speech that I was like, really, dude? Really? We know what side shot him. We know what group of people shot him. We know why your friend was shot. Why are you trying to make this about the Jews? Why are you so obsessed with them? Stop being obsessed with the Jews. We're all made in the image of God. Stop being obsessed with the Jews. Stop being obsessed with black people. Stop being obsessed with Hispanic people. We're all made in the image of God. I don't know how much I can stress that in one video. I've had a video for an hour now, and I've probably said that like 40 times. But I feel like it just needs to be pounded into people's heads how important that is to frame your mind around and build your foundation off of. And that if you build your foundation off of anything else, off of one of those founding principles in the Bible, you've built your foundation wrong and you gotta destroy it and rebuild it again. And yeah, that's gonna suck. But do it! Because it's the good and right thing to do.
Carlson, in fact, has spent more time talking about Jews and Israel since Charlie's death than about the Transtifa ideology that motivated Charlie Kirk's killer. By a long shot, it's not close. Which is not a surprise, since he seems to spend very little time these days attacking anyone on the left. Well, now, Tucker Carlson has seen fit to launder Nick Fuentes, the person who hated Charlie most and who wished him destruction.
Yeah, that was
That's
where I
not an act of
really,
friendship. It's an act of sick evil.
With Tucker.
And then, of course, there's Tucker Carlson's relationship with the vice president. Certainly, Vice President Vance has been quite generous with Tucker Carlson.
Agreed.
That loyalty was not reciprocated last week, to say the least. Here, for example, is what Nick Fuentes has said about J.D. Vance's wife, Usha.
Oh, dude, I don't want to.
Andrew Tate and Bronze Age Pervert and all these people, for years, all they talk about is going to the gym, being a vitalist, fighting the Matrix, India smells bad, all this kind of shit. And now they're all in favor of a fat race mixer who's married to a Jeet who named his son Vivek, who was mentored by a Jewish neocon and a gay fed, Peter Thiel. This guy has a non-white wife and a kid named Vivek.
Yeah.
This guy is going to be a defender of white identity?
No, because there is no white identity. There is no black identity. There is no identity. Find your identity in Christ. Okay? That's where you should find your identity. That's your founding identity that you should have as a human being, is finding your identity in Christ. Okay? That's the identity you should shape yourself around. Not your politics, not your race. I'm going to say it again for the billionth time. We are made in the image of God. Go read your Bible. Don't hear about it. If you have to, listen about it. Don't hear about the Bible. Don't fish in the Bible. Read your Bible. Comprehend your Bible. It's the good book for a reason. This book can change you. This book can do so much good for you. Life may get harder as you listen about it, because of how strongly you'll have to hold to these things, and you might have to give up on things. But it's worth it. It will bring you to a better and greater life. This man speaks for nothing of Christianity, speaks for nothing of the good book. He knows nothing about it, and he's probably barely read a page. Stop calling yourself a Christian. I'm gonna be mean here. You disgusting mongrel. Stop calling yourself a Christian. Stop calling yourself a Christian. You agree with nothing.
I don't think so. This guy's going to defend American identity?
You slammed J.D. Vance for having an Indian wife. Yet Trump's wife is an immigrant who was working here illegally for a time. His son is half foreign, bilingual, and holds dual citizenship. Yet you give him a pass. You're either a hypocrite or just retarded.
She's white! Dude, she's white!
His wife's Indian. That's not white. White is generally understood to be the group of cultures of everybody above the belt line of Italy and Spain in Europe. That is people of the fairer and whiter skin. But some groups broaden it all the way out to Middle Eastern. His wife is not Middle Eastern. His wife is Indian. Again, I don't agree with any of this. I don't like doing any of this. I've already spoken against, I don't like groupism. I don't like, I don't like any of that stuff. I am pro, we are all made in the image of God. That's what I'm pro for. That's my big statement. That's pro me. Because we're all made in the image of God. That's the standard that I hold everybody to. That's the viewpoint that I hold everyone to. That's the way I look at everybody. That's the way I value everybody. And that's important. That's super important. And I think it's one of the worst things that we've thrown to the side time and time again, that has gotten us in trouble as a country, honestly.
If we had millions of Slovenian supermodels immigrating to America, I don't think we'd have a big problem with it.
Tucker Carlson had on Nick Fuentes and did not ask him a single question about any of this. He just brought him on to launder his ugly ideas and make him more popular.
I have to watch the interview, but I suspect that probably is the case. If you can get clips like this of the kid just before the interview, and the interviews I have watched of Tucker have recently been of that standard and that grade. So that won't surprise me when I watch that and I react to that being the case. And I will be making a video probably tomorrow after work on that interview. And blasting both of them biblically for it, because I suspect the things I'm going to hear are horrendous and horrible and fundamentally disagree with what I believe in. And yeah, I'm gonna leave. Screw it. Let's hear the last of Ben.
Doesn't seem quite like the act of a friend. Which, finally, brings us to the Heritage Foundation. Now, I have a long and admiring relationship with the Heritage Foundation. One of the very first outlets to pick up my syndicated column when I was 17 years old, 24 years ago, was townhall.com, and a property of the Heritage Foundation. I know most of the leadership very well, and I have for decades. I know Kevin Roberts, and I like him, and I'm grateful for his contributions to the conservative movement. If you're a regular watcher of this show, you can check the interview I did with Kevin on the release of his book just last December. Which is why what Kevin Roberts did last week is tragic and awful. He put out a statement that Heritage Foundation didn't just stand by Tucker Carlson. Kevin instead said openly and repeatedly that Tucker Carlson can do nothing, ever, that will sever his relationship with the conservative movement. He said that after and in defense of Tucker's glossing of Hitler defender Nick Fuentes. And he added that only members of the globalist class, direct quote, a venomous coalition, direct quote, subject to the dictates of someone else's agenda.
That's awful.
Direct quote, oppose Heritage's ongoing relationship with Tucker Carlson, which means that according to Kevin Roberts, apparently, anyone opposing the ongoing mainstreaming of Tucker Carlson is acting on behalf of a foreign power. Kevin's statement is a betrayal of the Heritage Foundation's history and principles, which is presumably why both Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes loved it. And that's a tragedy, because America needs a robust conservative organization based on principle and ideas, not personal loyalty to bad actors like...
Agreed. None of this should be anything of that sort.
Tucker Carlson. We need strong leaders in the conservative movement, willing to speak out against the moral rot that threatens our future. I hope Kevin Roberts and Heritage show us that they can still be those leaders. But if not, we'll have to look elsewhere.
That would suck, but hey.
Why is all of this happening? Because, like the Democratic Party, the Republican Party is being eaten by its radicals. Many in the political class are too cowardly to stand up. Apparently, they're willing to play footsie with groypers and hug Tucker Carlson out of fear of somehow losing support. They've been bamboozled by the lies of the X algorithm and the TikTok metrics. The left followed its radicals to electoral hell. Apparently, many on the right wish to do the same. Forget the morality, then, for just a moment. Let's be pragmatic. Here is the thing. Americans hate Nick Fuentes' philosophy. They think it's trash.
Yeah, all Americans should. And if you don't, again, I'm just going to say it. My foundation comes from that Bible that's behind me. That's where your foundation should come from. That's where you get a great foundation to be. So that's where I hold to things, and Ben holds to things. Start there, not anywhere else. Otherwise, you're going to find yourself in a really dark place.
Republicans, by the polling, think it's trash. Independents think it's trash. Democrats think it's trash. And here's the other thing. Americans hate Tucker Carlson's laundered anti-Americanism. Republicans think it's trash. Independents think it's trash. Democrats think it's trash. Americans are not pro-segregation, pro-rape, anti-woman, pro-child marriage, anti-black, anti-Jew, anti-Indian, anti-Latino, anti-Constitution, pro-Hitler nutjobs like Nick Fuentes. And Americans are not pro-Putin, pro-Iran, pro-China, pro-Venezuela, pro-Hamas, pro-Fuentes, pro-Tate idiots like Tucker Carlson. They hate this vile garbage. If Republicans decide to cower before the likes of neo-Nazis and their propagandizers, They deserve to lose. And they will lose. Neo-Nazis and their propagandizers are not Republicans. They are not America First. They are not MAGA. They sure as hell aren't conservative. These people aren't to my right. They are not attached in any way to the fundamental principles of conservatism. And these people have already declared themselves to be my enemies. I'd be a fool not to take them seriously.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. They're not our friends. They're not our ally. They're not good people. They're not honest people. They're people who are calling themselves words but actually do not stand for the words that they hold themselves to, and will do the same evil things that I see leftists do, which is just bash the crap out of you with labels, which I don't approve of. Again, stated it way too many times in this thing, but I'm going to state it again. We're all made in the image of God, so I really have a problem a lot of the times with labels. Can labels be useful? Absolutely. If you have cancer, probably should have that cancer label on you so you can get treated for cancer. If you have mental illnesses that are severe and need help, you probably should have those labels, or at least your doctor should know those labels so they can help you through that. And if you need to know those labels yourself, probably should give them to you to help you fix that, if it's a good idea to tell you that. Because sometimes it is and sometimes it isn't. We have a problem with labels today in this society, and we really need to fix that track record, because it's gonna hurt us.
If they get their way, they will hollow out the Republican Party, lead it to electoral catastrophe, and empty it and the country of any semblance of decency in the process. My answer is no. No to the Groypers. No to their publicists like Tucker Carlson.
Agreed. I'm in full agreement. I'll probably be doing that video tomorrow on Tucker Carlson's interview with Fuentes and blasting the crap out of both of them. That is the plan. Is just refuting them with probably biblical citation on where they are just fundamentally wrong as human beings and their ideas. As you can imagine, probably one of the biggest stressors is we are all made in the image of God, and therefore fundamentally you are wrong on this assertion of these viewpoints and things. Thank you for Mr. Ben Shapiro for this video. Remember to give it a like, give him a sub. He's always great. He's an awesome dude. I've loved his stuff for a long time. I've loved him and Crowder for a very long time. They're good dudes. They promote a lot of good things. With that said, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Catch you guys later. Like, subscribe, share around. God bless.